And yes, I'm happy to be here, and thanks for the venue, Aave. So let's start with shared liquidity and efficiency. Yeah. So we've been seeing over the past couple months shared liquidity, vault routing, singleton pools. Do you guys think it's adding simplicity or complexity for the users? Do you want to start,
I can
Emilio?
start. Yeah. So I think it's a pretty wide topic to discuss in the sense that
I can change the topic if you want.
yeah, we can talk about like going to that. No, it's the thing is that we have a variety of approaches that protocols, especially protocols like Aave, have developed over the years. So Aave in general, me personally, we are like big. I am very convinced that like we cannot sacrifice capital efficiency at the cost of risk segregation. So what we are seeing that there are some extremes on both sides where you have protocols that fully sacrifice liquidity, capital efficiency for risk segregation, for risk management, and other protocols like Aave, for example, they take some compromises in terms of risk segregation to maximize capital efficiency, which I think is and I think it's a fact. It's not like a hypothesis because like Aave is the largest liquidity protocol for a reason. That like I do believe it is the best approach because this allows like much better scalability compared to other competing approaches. So it's also true that like it's getting more and more relevant use case for people to be able to, for users to be able to actually chase different yield opportunities and be able to position themselves differently on the risk yield curve, which is something that on Aave, in the current iteration on Aave, you cannot really do that efficiently. So on Aave today, you either subscribe to the risk profile of that particular Aave market, or you search for other different risk yield opportunities, right? So what we are going to do with Aave v4, that is, like I mentioned before, is close to release, we are still aiming at maintaining or even improving the capital efficiency of the system, but also give at the same time opportunity to users to
So you're moving from monoliths to modular.
Yes, we are like Aave v3 is more monolithic. Aave v4 is going to be more modular, and it's going to give the opportunity of optimizing that borrowing demand by looking for areas that are a bit unexplored today. At the same time, also allowing users through a shared liquidity mechanism to basically access other opportunities in terms of risk profile and yield. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I do believe that it's a necessary development for the space, but it cannot happen at the cost of capital efficiency. So we need to strike the right balance in that sense.
Yeah, maybe if I could add something. I think it's an essential step in creating UX that's actually viable for mass adoption. If you think about, if you ever had the experience of trying to onboard a friend who's not a DeFi native onto using even a relatively straightforward protocol like Aave or anything else, you realize just how absurd the experience of DeFi is. Everything from trying to figure out how to get tokens into your whatever wallet, seed phrases, signing random hex transactions, figuring out what chain you're on. All this crap has to be abstracted away, but it can't be done at the loss of capital efficiency. And so this necessary step is what's going to be required in order to create good UX, where a user doesn't have to give a shit what chain they're on, what path the token follows in order for them to actually acquire it or stake it or deposit it into some DeFi protocol. All this stuff has to be fully abstracted away, understanding that obviously it's a pretty complicated task to do it safely.
I mean, the other thing to add here is we're at the point in our space where RWA, TradFi, tokenization is actually taking off, right? So having this more systemic approach Aave has had to optimize for capital efficiency, creating the biggest pool, etc., of liquidity, made a ton of sense when we were a very crypto-native space, right? Now we're at the point where the assets onboarding into crypto, from stocks to commodities to stable coins to treasuries, the amount of new things that are going to go on chain are going to require more modularity to actually get on chain in a safer, more usable way, right? So I think this kind of pivot or focus on modularity right now is getting at the exact moment when we need it, when actually TradFi is getting into DeFi. That's the way I would view it.
Well, yesterday was a big TradFi, DeFi moment with Robinhood, right? Tokenized stocks using back finance behind the hood, and a chain. So it's funny because for retail user, they don't mention they're using crypto, blockchain, but for DeFi user, they're really advertising the fact that they're using blockchain and crypto and etc. I think we can go to the section number 2, which is basically restaking and modular security. I think restaking is becoming the new layer of security, but don't you guys believe that we're actually restaking risk, or we're adding another complex risk layer on top of something that is not necessarily super secure, or we are moving the risk to something else? Maybe Avery, you can actually answer, because Aptos is built for parallel executions, so maybe you can have some good hints.
Yeah, so we don't do restaking in Aptos, which has its known native staking kind of security layer. I think the idea of restaking is very interesting, of course, and it really depends on the underlying system you're restaking from, right? What's the security of that liquidity, the security of that network? That makes sense going forward. But from our perspective, I mean, you brought up the Robinhood point. We were at the event last night. Very, very interesting, right? And to the point about liquidity and about the complexity being introduced to customers, the Robinhood experience for those who saw the demo was extremely simple. Slider bars, things that Web 2 folks are very used to. I do think it's going to, the fact that it uses a blockchain is really about an access as opposed to anything like needing decentralization from more like a core philosophical viewpoint. It's just about like how do we give these assets a new audience and a new places that they haven't been before in the past. So I think that's the right approach for bringing on a lot of mass adoption, to be honest. And we are pretty excited about those assets coming onto places like the Robinhood chain, but also Aptos, and then supporting through shared liquidity on the best bridging protocols and the best way to make sure the access is available to everyone.
Okay, and since we're talking about security, I think we saying restaking, lending, real asset, leveraging, hedging, looping, like all those type of different interesting features that can lead us to some interesting scenarios. So on Chainlink, how do you guys approach the risk now that we are getting more and more exotic products, more and more sophisticated strategies? How do you approach it on a daily basis?
Yeah, so from our side, what you try to do is first off understand the asset, right? Understand the liquidity, the volume, what can go wrong. A lot of the TradFi assets today have very different rules from the crypto assets we're used to, right? They don't always trade during the week. Some of them trade, on particular days only. Some of them have holidays. Some of them have circuit breakers. It's a very different space. From our side, what you need is very similar to Aave when it comes to modularity that's coming with V4 more and more, is custom, very specific oracles that are able to do much more computation and be able to have inside the oracle some very specific metadata around when is the asset being traded. Is the market closed right now? Was there some type of holidays that basically means the asset wasn't traded for 24 hours, right? So I would say modularity has been a very key focus as we see more and more traditional assets coming on chain. We have to look at every single asset, work with risk managers such as Lamarisk, for instance, for Aave, to be able to design the right oracle for this specific asset. Crypto used to be very kind of similar on how to price an asset and how to do an oracle for the asset, right? Like the way you price Bitcoins, the way you price ETH, the way you price stable coins was a very similar pattern. With RWAs, completely different. And yeah, for us, it's again going back to modularity, which is a big topic of this panel, it's having custom approaches for every single RWA we have to work with.
Well, so maybe the solution can be the new kid in town, which is basically, I'm not sure if you guys heard about AI. Everyone is talking about AI agents. So, Mike, do you think that since you're building a one product for everything, do you think that would be like an AI agent that can optimize everything or can actually find like security, like measure the risk of certain products? And are you guys investing time in AI agents in a concept of DeFi, in a space of DeFi?
So I've yet, hopefully I won't offend too many people. I've yet to see.
We have 10 minutes left, and I have 2 other sections. Okay?
All right. Well, so good. Lots of time to piss people off. I've yet to see a non-bullshit crypto AI integration. I hope. I'm sure there's probably a bunch of founders here that are like very angry at me right now. But
so you're not bullish AI crypto yet?
There's got to be something there, right? I mean, it's intelligence obviously is a very broad thing that's applicable to a lot of categories. But like, you don't need an AI agent to figure out whether the yield is higher on Aave Avalanche or Aave mainnet. Okay, you don't need a freaking agent to do that. So like a lot of this like yield optimization solver stuff, you know, AI is not the right tool for the job, right? Like there are lots of statistical or even more straightforward kind of logic systems that can solve these types of problems. There's obviously lots of interesting work being done on decentralized training of models. Is that actually going to be more efficient, you know, than or even necessary versus
cheaper?
Approaches? Yeah, or cheaper. I think the jury's still out. Again, I've yet to see anything with like real product market fit, but there is a tremendous amount of bullshit and narrative and hype and nonsense tokens being launched and people trying to cash in on that narrative.
It's a new meme coin. It's a new like NFT memes and
So again, I'm optimistic. I think there's got to be something there, just because it's such a powerful set of tools. But nothing's clicked yet. I think just maybe to touch very quickly on some of the comments on restaking. Obviously, our first product was restaking. We have billions of ETH restaked. It's interesting maybe to point out that the narrative around what are the applications of restaking has changed pretty dramatically from the very beginning to what it is today. Initially, it was really meant, or at least thought to be, this very general purpose thing. You know, blockchains are going to launch and use restaking to bootstrap and save on emissions, and there were thousands of applications. It really seems to be converging on a different type of use case. The most successful networks, AVSs that we're seeing are ones that use it almost like an insurance pool, which is a very different use case than security, than borrowing the ETH security. So that's interesting, and I think that leaves the space of restaking in a bit of like a state of flux. Like, what are the actual use cases that are actually going to generate revenue? And I think the jury's still out. We saw like a very interesting kind of narrative change with EigenLayer rebranding into EigenCloud, focusing on verifiable compute. So that's, again, a very different narrative. So I think it's just worth noting that things have changed.
Okay. So as a conclusion, because I've seen some chart about revenue spiking on the EtherFi, it's not because you guys are using AI agent on the card. No, okay. Just want to clarify this point. Section number 4, we have cross-chain coordination and real-world asset. I think for everyone that has been building something in a space, there is a thing that is extremely difficult and painful is to be deployed on multiple different chains to provide liquidity, incentives, and etc. Do you guys think that we've been making progress in terms of coordinations, cross-chain, and now that we're seeing all those real-world assets, the ability to mint an asset that sits on an asset that sits on the chain and then mint on the other chain, and then use it as a collateral, build a vault, leverage. What do you guys think about the space and the chain aspect? Maybe Emilio and
I can take this one. So, like, when we designed Aave v3, we were foreseeing like a future which is actually happening, where we would have possibly thousands of different chains.
Thousands of different chains.
Yeah, maybe we'll have. Now
I thought we were going to get only one chain left.
No, yeah. I mean, what I mean is that like you will have like app chains essentially where potentially every chain is its own ecosystem, right? And at that point, you will have the need to put together the liquidity that it inevitably is fragmented against all these different chains, right? So in V3, back in the days already, almost 5 years ago, we implemented this feature that we called portals, where like the goal of that feature was to actually being able to move liquidity across Aave markets. So if we had a situation where, for example, there is a market on Avalanche that is currently liquidity crunched, but we have access to liquidity on Ethereum market, that you could potentially take the liquidity from the Aave V3 market on Ethereum and we move it to Avalanche to rebalance the liquidity needs, right? So this is something that technically we can do, but we haven't never actually done it. And the reason why we haven't never done it is, together with other stuff that we can do using this feature, we never done it, and the reason why we never explored actually this possibility is that while theoretically sounds appealing, in practice there are a variety of challenges that you need to face that are maybe not worth the effort.
For managing all those chains, yeah.
No, like one of the main challenges is that like there is no, maybe now Chainlink is trying with CCIP. We didn't have CCIP back in the days. But like one of the major challenges is that you don't have a unified cross-chain layer where you can rely on one tier of security across all these different chains so that you are not going to lower the security assumptions on every market, on every network. What I mean is that if you move 50 million of liquidity from Ethereum to, I don't know, an unknown L2, right? And the only way of moving this liquidity is through a certain bridge, then what happens is that you are lowering the security of the Ethereum market for the exposure of 50 million.
Yeah, yeah.
Due to the lower security of the destination network and the lower security of the bridge, right?
So bridges are not the solution.
It could be potentially if we have a trusted, verified, and strong
5 minutes.
inter-cross-chain layer, like it could be Chainlink,
Yeah.
for example.
And what happened to DAOs, like decentralized autonomous organizations, in order to coordinate?
I mean, our is alive and well.
Yeah,
know
but
what
I don't
happens to
feel
the
like
others.
people are marketing now projects that are using DAOs, like
I mean,
governance
I
on
don't-
chain, cross.
I don't think it's like DAO specifically. I would not use them as a marketing tool, maybe, but more as a coordination tool, which kind
So you
of.
think that they're actually good at coordinating executions
Okay,
for
well,
specific projects?
Yeah,
I think they all failed to me, but
it depends. Like our is working pretty well. Like we have this model where we have the DAO allocates service provider to.
yeah, this
handle
works
certain-
well. Yeah.
The certain tasks, so risk management, biz dev, development, maintenance, and so on and so forth. It's been working pretty well until now. It has its own challenges, of course, because if you have like a centralized decision model, everything is much smoother at times. But it also has its benefits because, like, for example, Aave Labs could not build alone everything that is being built around Aave in these last few years. So that's very beneficial because, like, this allows the development.
So it's not necessarily autonomous. It's more decentralized governance, but not autonomous.
Yeah.
Maybe with AI will come the autonomous
Yeah,
angle.
but I mean, it depends what you mean for autonomous. But like, yeah, I mean, it's not. It still relies on people. and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Of course, at this stage.
So I think I have a question from the audience, and probably the best question ever. So because we have to only have a couple of minutes left, and this guy looks really scary to me in the back. So
He has a gun.
yeah, this is open to all of you. Okay, we only have 1 minute to answer. What is the one modular primitive design pattern or trend that you guys believe will shape DeFi the most over the next year?
I can start. For me,
For sure, Mike will say no, not AI. So
yeah. For me, like if we are talking about like pattern or architectural design, I think Aave V4 is going to change a lot of things.
So Aave V4 will actually flip Bitcoin. That's for sure.
I
Yeah.
hope so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, for us, we have our Chainlink runtime environment. Chainlink runtime environment is basically a way to manage all the complexities you have as an asset or as a chain in regards to doing cross-chain, in regard to connecting with data, in regard to connecting with proof of reserve. Basically, if you look at any tokenized asset today, there are so many operations they need to have and coordinate, from having access to identity, to compliance, to proof of reserve, to being able to get issued on many, many chains. That's a lot of orchestration. That's a lot of coordination. What we built with CRE is a way for developers to be able to orchestrate all of these key actions in one single developer environment. And I think that's going to be one of the actual main thing we can do to make it easier for people to tokenize assets today.
Very nice.
I'd say for us, what we believe is chains need a new architecture. So if you want to actually implement DeFi at massive scale, and our goal is really, how do you take, the biggest use case in crypto, the PMF, is trading, but it all happens on centralized exchanges. And so to move that to decentralized infrastructure, we got to rebuild the entire stack from the ground up. And so those core
Saying like
parameters,
hyper frequency trading or something.
very high frequency trading on chain, decentralized, is going to change everything.
Mike?
I guess everyone has their perspective on what they're focused on. What we're focused on is connecting all this DeFi stuff, all this great infrastructure that's been built with the last mile of TradFi rails, so that users can actually take advantage of all this great stuff that's been built. And so I guess my hot take is that I actually think the tech has been built. I mean, we have plenty of block space. It's cheap enough. It's actually fast enough for the vast majority of applications, certainly for, at least what we're doing. What needs to be done is good UX, apps, and that last mile integration to actually let people use this stuff in their real life. And I think we're starting to see that for the first time. I mean, we're seeing tons of these either TradFi institutions dropping down into DeFi, or DeFi institutions doing this sort of last mile thing like we're doing. And I really think we're on this sort of precipice where we're going to see a watershed moment and lots of user adoption. And
Okay, and
actually grow.
I asked permission, and he said I have one more, but it has to be really quick, okay? This is a spicy closer. What modular concept is completely overhyped and needs to die? I like this one. You wanna start?
I won't start.
What?
I won't start, not the first.
He's scared, you see.
Okay, it's not a component or a modularity or anything. Meme coins.
Meme coins. But they're already dead, no?
What?
They're already dead, no?
Yeah, they're dead, but they always come back. So, yeah.
I thought you were going to answer something else. I mean, I thought you were going to answer like something pretty spicy, but
No. Meme coins is enough.
no? Mike.
modular concept.
I mean, it's pretty broad. It can be.
If we're covering meme coins, that's quite broad. I don't know if this falls into the category of modular concept. There's a lot of obviously excitement and hype around RWAs and tokenized stocks and equities. The thing that concerns me, to the extent that you can call it modular, is that these things are all being brought on chain, but in this very permissioned form, in the sense that, you can tokenize a stock, but you need to be on a whitelist in order to be able to trade it, which completely breaks, all composability. And I think I really hope that doesn't become the norm in DeFi, that you don't have these permission pools start to dominate in terms of TVL assets and trading activity, because that fundamentally just replicates TradFi in a much more expensive and convoluted way. Whereas, of course, the whole value of DeFi is that it is permissionless, open. And so I hope that modular way of bringing RWA in chain doesn't take off.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, I have to agree here. I think tokenization for the sake of tokenization, meaning you don't bring utility to the asset, has been done way too much. And I think right now the focus should be on how do we actually bring utility to the assets being issued, which is something I think Horizon has been very focused on, for instance. It's really the next big thing for us. Now, look, hot take, not about modularity. I think the space needs to go back to how do we actually launch projects that have communities and that have kind of the magic we used to have back in the day, right? Like if you were around in 2017, 2018, every project had a very hardcore, fanatical community, all right? You had, that's how we got here. Like ETH had a hardcore community of builders, Bitcoin had a hardcore community of believers, Aave, Chainlink. Like that's how all of us got here, right? I think something we've really lost in the space, probably in the last cycle mainly, has been how can I create a community of hardcore people? I think you guys at EtherFi, at Aptos have done a really good job there actually, but it's been the outlier compared to the norm. And I think we need to really go back to what makes our space so special. The space was created because you had a bunch of fanatics around Bitcoin who believed in the vision and pushed the vision to conquer the whole world, okay? Nice. That's where we need to go back to. So okay, that's my hot take.
Kill the meme coins, stock ETF or tokenized, maybe, but not too much, and bring the magic back. Boom. That's it.
Let's go.
Round of applause, guys.